Before you do anything else today, I need you to receive one sentence. Because heaven has been waiting for the right moment to deliver it. And the moment is now. The thing that was assembled against you has been dissolved, not weakened, not paused, not regrouping, dissolved. The way salt dissolves, the way a knot comes undone, the way a word written in sand doesn't survive the tides. There was an agreement operating against your life. You felt it even when you couldn't approve it. And I'm here to tell you, with the full weight of everything in me, that the agreement has been broken from above. The alliance behind it has scattered. And the file on you, the one that Circle kept open for years, has been closed by a hand much higher than theirs. And hear this part because this is the part that's going to undo you a little in the good way. Wasn't closed because they gave up. It was closed because you passed. Stay with me to the end because before this message is over, I'm going to show you what the test actually was. It is not that you think it was. I'm going to show you what happened on the other side of the whale while you were just trying to survive your ordinary days. And I'm going to hand you the title that gets given only to those who come out of a season like yours with their heart still soft and their lamp still lit. And as always, beloved, pass these words. Take it back to God in prayer. Ask Him to confirm it, correct it, or quiet it. If it is for you, your spirit will know before I finish. In fact, some of you already felt something settle in your chest and dissolved. And that settling was the confirmation arriving ahead of the explanation. Now, let me give you the reframe first, okay? Because you've been reading your own recent season through the wrong lens. And the wrong lens has been costing you peace you're already entitled to for a long stretch of your life, longer than was fair. You felt opposed, not challenged the way everyone is challenged, opposed, targeted with a strange precision. Doors that should have opened jammed at the last second. Relationships that should have flourished soared on schedule. Right when they were sweetest. Your name traveled to places you never sent it and came back wearing clothes you never dressed in it. And beneath all of it, a low, humming pressure, the sense of being watched with intent, discussed with agenda, worked against by something coordinated. Some of you told a friend once, carefully, and heard your overthinking, and you never brought it up again. But you knew. A person knows the difference between weather and warfare. Here's what the wrong lens told you. That the pressure meant you were losing. That being targeted meant you were vulnerable. That the length of the battle meant heaven had looked away. Now hear the true lens and let it go all the way down. Nothing coordinated is ever assembled against something wordless. Nobody builds an alliance to oppose a person going to nowhere. The scale of what gathered against you was heaven's own measurement of what you carry. Read that again. And the length of the siege was not evidence of God's absence. It was evidence of your walls. Weak cities fall in a week. Weak cities never even get besieged. They just get walled into. The only, the only city that gets surrounded, sealed up, and pressed for years is a city the enemy has concluded cannot be taken by the front gate. And that's the picture I'm supposed to give you today. I felt it settle on me and it would not lift. So open your spirit and come stand on the wall with me. In the ancient world, when an army could not conquer a city, it would camp around it. That was the whole strategy of a siege. Not strength, but patience dressed up as strength. They would ring the city with tents and pyres. They would cut the roads, and then they would simply sit there, month after month, letting the side of them do the work. Because a siege was never really an attack on walls, it was an attack on hope. The banners, the nightly pyres on the horizon, the drums, time to steal sleep. Every bit of it was tethered with one single message, repeated at the city day and night. No one is coming for you. Nothing outlasts us. Open your gates and end this. The army outside was betting everything on the mind inside. And scripture. I have to take you there. Scripture records what happens when a besieged people holds anyway. When the great army of Assyria ringed God's city and its commander shouted taunts at the walls, daring the people go to trust their God, the king inside didn't answer the taunts. He went up and spread the whole situation out before the Lord. And the word that came back is one of my favorite sentences in the entire text. The Lord speaking about the invader. He shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there. And then the morning. You remember the morning. The city woke and looked out from the walls, and the siege was simply over. The camp that had filled the horizon vanished. In a single night, with no battle the city ever had to fight, the people inside did not defeat the army. They outlasted it inside the promise, and heaven handled the horizon. That is the word for you today. That morning is your morning. You are standing on the wall of your own life right now, still braced, still scanning the horizon out of years of habit. And I'm telling you as plainly as it. Look again. The fires are out. The tents are down. The field is empty. They broke camp in the night, in spirit, and the siege of your life has lifted. And the reason your circumstances have felt strangely quiet lately, that odd stillness some of you have noticed and didn't trust, is the stillness is what peace sounds like to a person who was only ever knows the drums. Now, who were they? What was this alliance, this covenant, this agreement that linked you? I cannot see your life. And I'm going to say something at the end of this section that matters more than the guessing. So listen with wisdom and without suspicion. For some of you, it operated close to home, and not of people inside your wider family who long ago agreed on a version of you that served their comfort, who mocked what you were building, who passed your private things around like currency. You felt that agreement at gatherings. They synchronize coolness that's too coordinate to be coincidence. For others of you, it formed at a workplace or in a community, a small circle that closed against you the day it became clear you would not conform. Would you not join it? Would you not laugh at what wasn't funny or stay silent about what wasn't right? You were the one they couldn't fall in, so you became the one they organized around. For others still, it was an old friendship circle. People who knew the earlier you, who preferred the earlier you, and who greeted every sign of your growth like a betrayal to be managed. Their fellowship, if you ever saw it clearly, had less holding it together than it seemed. We'll come back to that. And for some of you, hear this one. There were never human faces on it all, or none you'll ever need to identify. The opposition was spiritual in nature, a pressure in the unseen, an assignment against your bloodline older than any of the people in your life today. Do not force human faces onto it. In fact, and this is the instruction I felt strongly as prepared this word. So receive it as protection, not correction. You are not required to solve the roster. Do not spend the coming weeks auditing your relatives and rereading old messages. Hunting for who wasn't in it. The hunt is the siege trying to continue inside you after it has ended outside. Suspicion is just the drums, internalized. God did not dissolve the alliance so you could reconstruct it from memory. He dissolved it so you could be done. Whoever they were, whatever it was, heaven has the ledger is accurate, and the case has been handled by a judge who saw everything and needs no testimony from you. Your assignment is not investigation. Your assignment is the open field. But before we walk out into that field, we have to tend to a wound because there's something the siege years did to you that nobody talks about. And if we don't name it today, it will follow you into your spears and spoil it. You don't know how to stand down. Let's just say it plainly, okay? In this safety of this moment, somewhere in those long years, vigilance stopped being something you did and became something you are. You are you read every room now before you enter it. You preach you every sentence for how it could be used against you. When something good arrives, your first feeling is not joy, it's suspicion. That old reflex. What is softening me up for? You have called yourself unable to simply receive a kindness without scanning it for the hook. Some of you sleep light. Some of you rehearse defenses for accusations no one has made. And in your most honest hour, you wondered if the pressure broke something in you permanently. If you're just a suspicious, braced, armored person now, and the open hearted version of you died somewhere back in year two of the siege. Come here. Let me hold that with you. And then let me turn it over and show you what's written on the other side. Nothing in you is broken. What you're describing is a garrison that hasn't received the news. Every one of those reflexes, the scanning, the bracing, the light sleeping, that was not weakness. That was the watch. That was you walking the walls of your own life every single night for years. And I need you to understand something about the seat you survived. Walls do not hold themselves. The reason the alliance never breached you, the reason their whole patient theater failed, is that someone kept the promise on the horizon and someone kept the watch on the wall. Your vigilance was co-labor with how it held the gate shut through every long night of drums. So do not despise the watchman in you, and do not believe for 1 second that he is all you are. He's not your personality, he's your veteran. And veterans can be honored, thanked, and given new assignments because the same eyes that spent years scanning for threats are about to be repurposed in this new season for a different kind of seeing, discernment without dread. You will keep the wisdom and lose the fear. The watchman doesn't die in peacetime, beloved. He becomes the elder at the gates, the one who can read an arriving stranger in a glance, not to repel them, but to know exactly which ones are safe to welcome. That's what your hypervigilance is turning into. That's what it was always going to become. It just needed to war to end first, and the war has ended. Now let me show you what was happening inside their camp all those years, because you only ever saw the fires from a distance. The truth of what went among the tents is going to set something free in you. An alliance built around a target has exactly one thing holding it together: the target. Hear that. Those people were never friends. Whatever they call themselves, family, circle, fellowship, the honest name for what they had was a coalition. And coalitions of envy have no interior life. Take away the campaign, and they had nothing to talk about. Their agreement about you was only fire in their camp. And this is the smallness at the center of the whole thing. The thing that should move you toward pity on your way past it. Every one of them came to that alliance carrying an emptiness that predated you. You were not their reason. You were their distraction from their reason. A person at peace with their own field does not spend years camped outside somebody else's walls. Only people fleeing their own unlived lives and lives in a siege, because a siege for the besieger is also a hiding place as long as the campaign continued. Nobody in that camp had to go home and face the silence of their own tent. And that, beloved, is exactly how it dissolved. Are you ready to hear how the Cohen ended? Because no lightning bolt fell, and none needed to. Heaven's judgment on an alliance like this is quieter and more complete than fire. He is simply withheld the victory and let the arithmetic of evil do the rest. Here's what long failure did inside that camp. Every year your walls held, the questions got louder among the tents. Why isn't it working? And envy, when it is denied its harvest, does not disband politely. It turns inward. The suspicion they had aimed at you began slowly to circulate among themselves. Who's not fully committed? who told, who secretly admired the city. The head of the thing lost its authority the day the campaign stopped producing results because coali- because coalitions of that kind of follow success and nothing else, and one by one, quietly without announcements, the way people leave a failing thing, they broke camp. Some of them no longer speak to each other at all. And if you ever learn that, don't be surprised. The alliance that spent years trying to divide relationships could not, in the end, keep its own tents pitched side by side. That is the signature of heaven's justice. It is almost always ironic, and here is where I remind you of what the reference of scripture demands and what your own soul requires holds no gloating. Their scattering is not your trophy, it is your release. And if ever one of them approaches you in some future season, changed, humbled, carrying an apology that cost them something real, be a kind of city that can receive an envoy of peace. Wisdom will tell you how much access mercy requires, and the answer is usually forgiveness fully. Case rarely. You can bless a former besieger from the wall without lowering the bridge, and both of those together, the blessing and the wall, are what maturity looks like. Meanwhile, and now we get to the part of the record Heaven wants read aloud. Let's talk about what you were doing during those years because from inside your own life it looked like you were just enduring. From above it looked like something else entirely. While they circled you built, that's the part you couldn't see from ground level. Every ordinary faithful day inside those walls was construction. You kept tending what was yours. Your work, your people, your small disciplines with an army on the horizon, which is the hardest kind of tending there is. You prayed the unglamorous prayers, the tired ones, the ones with no eloquence left in them, and haven't counted every one you did, not become what was aimed at you. Sit with that. Years under slander, and you never built a counter alliance, never returned the campaign, never once camped outside anyone else's life. Pressed daily by coordinated coldness. You stayed warm to people who had nothing to do with it, and some of you even stayed civil to the very ones you suspected, refusing to convict without evidence, which the world calls naivety and heaven calls right, righteousness. And here is the thing I most need you to hear about the test, because I promise I tell you what the test actually was. The test was never whether the walls would hold. Heaven was never worried about your walls. Heaven built your walls. The test was what would be found inside the city when the siege lifted. Sieges are designed to make cities eat themselves, to turn the people inside bitter, hoarding, cruel, hard. This is what long opposition does to almost everyone. And when this siege lifted and heaven looked inside your gaze, do you know what it found? Bruised spirits. Yeah. Tired watchmen. Yes, but the wells undefiled, the heart of the city still soft, the lamp in the high tower still lit. You came out of a years long campaign of darkness without becoming dark. And that, beloved, was the entire examination, and you passed it in the only way it can be passed, without knowing you were talking it. That's the secret of every true test in the kingdom. You didn't become a monster, you passed the test. The ones you know about measure your performance, but the ones you don't know about measure your nature, and it was your nature that was being weighed all along, and your nature was found faithful. So now receive what gets conferred on cities like yours. Under participation, ribbon, a name because in scripture, when a place or a person comes through the fire with their essence intact, they get renamed, and the new game is the testimony. You are the city that held, not the city that was never attacked. There is no honor in that name, and it was never available to you anyway. What you carry made you a target the day you were formed, not the city that fought its way out. You were never asked to fight. That was the scandal of the whole strategy. That your part was to stand, and standing felt like nothing, and it was everything. You're the steed that a coordinated darkness studied, surrounded, and pressed with every patient theater it knew, and could not enter, the one whose gates never opened from fear, the one whose horizon haven't personally cleared in the night without you sword ever leaving its sheath, because no weapon formed against you was going to prosper. And now you know that sentence was never poetry, it was policy. Look with me now. Look slowly. All the way across it, the fires cold, the banner's gone, the drum's silent, and the silence is not a trick, it is the verdict. The field where an army spent years waiting for you to break is just a field again, and it is empty, and it is yours now, and it is morning. So here is your instruction. The only one, and I know it's the only thing the watchman in you fears most, which is exactly how you know it's the next step. Open your gates, not to the past. The past has been handled. Open them was arriving. To the people heaven is sending down those reopened roads. To joy that doesn't need to be scanned for hooks. To the light that was waiting for the siege to end before it approached your walls. Because good things wait for peacetime, and your peacetime has been declared. Open your gates. The war is over. The field is clear, and everything coming toward you now comes as a friend. Thank you for watching.